James Thompson dragged his tired body back home. This day's work was particularly heavy: shelf organization, inventory, staff scheduling. Each task made him busy. However, the moment he pushed open the door of his home, all the tiredness seemed to disappear, replaced by the warmth of home. Only, there's something different about home today. Linda sat on the sofa with a stony face. The atmosphere in the house was very different from the past, less of the usual laughter and more of a suffocating silence. A sense of foreboding welled up in James' heart, but he tried to keep himself calm and smiled as he walked towards Linda. "What's the matter, honey? Something upsetting today?" James asked softly, trying to break the awkwardness. Linda didn't answer right away. She looked up at James with a flash of mixed emotions in her eyes. Then she took a deep breath, as if she had made up her mind. "James, I need to talk to you." Linda's voice was a little shaky, but her tone was unusually firm. James sat next to Linda and held her hand, trying to give her some comfort. "Go ahead. I'm here to listen." Linda drew back her hand, bit her lip, and then said the words that shocked James. "I want a divorce." "Divorce?" James felt as if he had been struck by lightning, and his whole body froze. The word was too far away for them. They had been so in love. How could it have come to this? "Why?" James' voice trembled a little as he couldn't believe his ears. "We used to love each other so much. Why the sudden divorce?" Linda lowered her head, her voice catching. "I met Clayton Walker and we're together." Clayton Walker? The successful developer. James felt his heart stabbing hard. He'd heard of Clayton Walker before, but never thought he'd have an affair with his wife. "It's not possible," James roared, his emotions starting to get the best of him. "How can we just give up after all these years of our relationship?" "I'm sorry, James." Linda was in tears. "I know it's unfair to you, but I've fallen in love with him. I can't control my feelings." James felt a wave of vertigo, as if he saw their marriage crumbling. He tried to salvage the situation, but his words seemed so pale. He knew that Linda had made her decision and he couldn't change it.
Fine.
James finally said, his voice full of hopelessness and sadness. "If you think that's the best option, then I agree to the divorce." Linda looked at James with tears streaming down her face. She knew she had hurt him with her decision, but she couldn't turn back. She stood up and walked silently to the bedroom, leaving James sitting alone on the couch, facing the empty room. James didn't know how he got through that long night. His heart ached so much he couldn't breathe, but he knew he had to be strong. He needed time to heal his wounds and time to accept the harsh reality that his marriage was over. In the days after Linda filed for divorce, James' life seemed to be plunged into a dark abyss. Whenever night falls, he is left alone in the silent room. The laughter of the past seems to be still in his ears, but the reality is cruel. However, James knows that he can't let himself sink into endless sadness. He needs to find a new beginning. After a period of depression and confusion, James began to re-examine his life. He realized that the end of the marriage did not mean the end of his life with it. On the contrary, it was an opportunity to re-examine himself and re-understand life. So he decided not to dwell on the sorrow of the past, but to face the future positively and find a way forward. In order to get back on his feet, James began to make plans to change his lifestyle. He realized that he needed more time and energy to focus on himself, his inner needs, and his physical health. So he started a daily exercise program, whether it was a morning run or a gym session, and he stuck to it. At the same time, he began to pay attention to his eating habits, trying to choose healthy foods and avoiding excessive grease and sugar. In addition to the physical changes, James also began to focus on spiritual fulfillment. He began to read books, learn new knowledge and skills, and even participated in social activities to make new friends. These activities made his life more colorful and gradually brought back his confidence and optimism. In the process, James also learned how to deal with his emotions. Instead of avoiding or suppressing his feelings, he learned to listen to his inner voice and understand his emotions. When he feels sad or depressed, he chooses to talk to his friends or express his feelings by writing in a journal. This release of emotions makes him more peaceful and determined inside. Over time, James grew out of his divorce and began to embrace his new life. He realized that the experience, though painful, had made him grow up a lot. He learned how to face setbacks and difficulties and how to adjust his mind and emotions. More importantly, he learned how to cherish himself, care for himself, and work hard for his future. In the process, he also began to re-examine his career. He realized that although working in a supermarket was stable and comfortable, it was not the life he really wanted. So he started to look for new job opportunities, hoping to find a more challenging job with room for development. At the same time, he also began to pay attention to social welfare, hoping to make some contributions to society through his own efforts. In the process of self-rebuilding, James also rediscovered the beauty of life. He began to appreciate the scenery around him, feel the charm of nature, and savor the taste of food. These ordinary and simple things made him feel the warmth and happiness of life. He realized that although life is full of setbacks and difficulties, as long as we keep a positive mindset and optimistic attitude, we will surely be able to find our own happiness. After a period of depression, James decides to start organizing the items in his home, wanting to get out of his inner gloom by changing his living environment. In this process, he has to face many memories he shared with Linda. Those corners that were once full of laughter now only make him feel sad. When he opened a drawer that had not been opened for a long time, there suddenly appeared in front of his eyes some golden-colored round objects which were lying quietly in the corner of the drawer, as if telling a dusty story for a long time. James carefully picked up one of them and scrutinized it carefully. This is some ancient metal coins, with traces of age, exuding a mysterious and ancient atmosphere. An inexplicable excitement surged in his heart. These coins, could they be the legacy left to him by his grandfather? He remembered that when he was a child, his grandfather had once shown him similar coins and told him how precious they were. At that time, he did not deeply understand his grandfather's words, but now, it was as if these coins had become the last link between him and his grandfather. James' heart began to race as he realized that these coins could be of considerable value. He began to search for information about these coins online and found that they were indeed very valuable, and some versions were even worth a fortune. The news sent a wave of ecstasy through him. Not only might these coins help him solve his current financial woes, but they might also be the beginning of a new life for him. However, beyond the joy, James is more than aware that the value of these coins is much more than just money. He hopes that with the help of these ancient coins of high value, he can do something meaningful as the beginning of his new life. Perhaps he can use these coins to help those in need, or put them into some charitable cause to benefit more people. He sat in his study, rubbing the ancient coins in his hands and thinking. These coins were not only the legacy left to him by his grandfather, but also the hope and motivation for his new life ahead. He decided that he would make good use of these coins and do something truly meaningful to give his life a new luster. So he began to plan how to utilize these ancient coins. He thought of many possible projects: to support education, to help children in poor areas, to invest in environmental protection. Every idea made him feel excited and expectant. He knew that these coins would be the cornerstone for him to realize his dream and the starting point of his new life. In the process, James gradually regained his self-confidence and motivation in life. He began to look forward to his new life in the future and to creating more value and meaning with these ancient coins. He knows that these coins will lead him to a whole new world, a world full of hopes and dreams. James realized that he needed professional help on how to deal with these valuable ancient coins. On the one hand, he had to deal with his divorce and property division with Linda. On the other hand, he needed to accurately assess the value of these ancient coins. So, he decided to seek professional advice from lawyers and financial advisors. First, James contacted a divorce attorney with a good reputation in the area. In the conference room of the lawyer's office, they discussed in detail the procedures of divorce, the principles of property division, and the problems they might encounter. The lawyer patiently explained the relevant legal provisions and emphasized the importance of protecting one's property rights and interests. James listened very attentively and from time to time raised his questions and concerns. The lawyer answered them one by one and gave him a lot of practical advice. During his interaction with his lawyer, James gradually clarified his rights and obligations in the divorce process. He realized that although divorce is a painful thing, it is necessary to protect his rights and interests through legal procedures. He decided to follow his lawyer's advice and actively prepare relevant evidence and materials to cope with possible disputes. Next, James consults with a senior financial advisor. He showed the financial advisor the ancient coins he had found and inquired about their probable value. The financial advisor carefully observed and appraised the coins and then gave a preliminary valuation. James was surprised and excited to hear this valuation. The value of the coins far exceeded his expectations. However, the financial advisor also reminded him that it would not be easy to accurately assess the value of these coins and find suitable buyers. He advises James to look for professional ancient coin appraisal organizations and auction companies to work with to ensure that these coins can be fairly assessed and reasonably sold. At the same time, he also reminds James to protect his property and avoid fraud or loss during the transaction. After listening to the advice of his financial advisor, James felt that he had a clearer direction on what to do with these ancient coins. He decided to seek a detailed appraisal and evaluation from a professional ancient coin appraiser before considering how to sell the coins. Through his interactions with his attorney and financial advisor, James felt more confident and determined. He realized the importance of seeking professional help when facing life's changes and challenges. The advice and counsel of these experts not only gave him a clearer understanding of divorce and property division, but also provided him with valuable guidance in dealing with ancient coins. In the following days, James began to actively prepare the necessary documents for his divorce and contacted an ancient coin appraisal organization with a good reputation in the industry. He knew that this was not an easy road to travel, but he was also confident that he would be able to get through this and usher in a new life. At the same time, he is also looking forward to the ancient coins that will bring him a sizable fortune and provide him with more choices and possibilities for his future life. Since the appraisal agency confirmed the value of the ancient coins, James has been in a hectic schedule. Not only does he need to find a reliable auction house to sell these precious coins, but he also has to deal with the tedious business of divorce and property division. Against this backdrop, an invitation to a social event arrives unexpectedly and becomes a bright spot in his busy schedule. The social event was held at one of the city's posh clubs and featured the best of the best from all walks of life. Although James wasn't really interested in this type of event, he decided to go anyway, considering that it might be a good opportunity to meet potential buyers or partners. That evening, James stepped through the doors of the clubhouse in a smart suit and with some anticipation. The lights were bright, the music was soft, and people were gathered in small groups to talk. He looked around, trying to find a suitable point of entry into this unfamiliar environment. Just then, an elegant figure attracted his attention. It was a lady in a gorgeous evening dress. Her temperament was noble and unique. She always wore a faint smile when she talked to people and appeared to be both friendly and not lose her majesty. James' heart was moved, and he decided to go forward to talk with her. "Good evening, I'm James Thompson." He introduced himself to the lady with a smile. "May I ask what your name is?" "Good evening, James." The lady smiled back. "I'm Isabella Roth." During the conversation, James learned that Isabella was not only a successful businesswoman, but also an experienced collector of ancient coins. With a happy heart, he told her about his discovery of the ancient coins and showed photos of a few of them. Isabella showed great interest in these ancient coins, and she scrutinized each photo carefully, making exclamatory noises from time to time. When she learned that James was looking for an auction house, her eyes lit up and she made a heartwarming suggestion. "James, if you are willing, we can consider working together. I have some resources in the auction industry and can help you find the most suitable auction company to ensure that your ancient coins will fetch a good price." James' heart was stirred after hearing this. He was still worried about finding an auction house, but he didn't expect the problem to be solved when he met Isabella here. He said gratefully, "Isabella, thank you so much. Your advice was very helpful to me." The two chatted very much, not only talked about the collection and auction of ancient coins, but also shared their own life experiences and hobbies. Isabella's insights and style of speech made James deeply admired. He felt as if he had found a soulmate. As the night wore on and the socializing drew to a close, James and Isabella exchanged contact information and agreed to meet again. On the way home, James was in a very happy mood. He realized that not only had he made interesting new friends, but he had also solved a big problem for him. He began to look forward to further cooperation and communication with Isabella, as well as feeling confident about his new life ahead. Over the next few days, James and Isabella became more and more in touch. Together, they discussed plans for auctioning the ancient coins and finalized the details of their cooperation. With Isabella's help, James finally found a reliable auction house and a suitable home for his ancient coins. At the same time, he also established a deep friendship and partnership with Isabella, adding more colors and possibilities to his new life. Meeting Isabella Roth seemed to open a whole new door for James. With her help and introduction, James met with a number of experienced collectors who had a keen interest in ancient coins. These collectors not only appreciated James' coins, but also became interested in his story. After several rounds of negotiation and bargaining, James finally reached a deal with a reputable collector. This collector, whose love of ancient coins is almost obsessive, knows the value of these coins and understands their significance to James. As a result, he offered a fair and reasonable price that James was very happy with. On the day of the transaction, the sun shone brightly, as if even the heavens were smiling at James' good fortune. When the heavy ancient coins in his hands were carefully handed over to the collector, an unspeakable emotion welled up in his heart. These coins, once just dusty memories in his home, have now brought him unexpected wealth. The sudden string of extra numbers in his bank account put James in a bit of a trance. He had never imagined that these ancient coins could bring him such a huge return. This amount of money could not only significantly improve his quality of life, but also lay a solid cornerstone for his future path. However, the sudden arrival of wealth did not go to James' head. He knew that although the money was important, what was more important was how to use it wisely. During his conversation with Isabella, he gradually clarified his direction and goals. First, he decided to plan adequately for his and his family's future. Whether it is the education fund for his children or the retirement plan for his parents, he has thought it through thoroughly. In addition, he also plans to use part of the funds to invest in his own learning and growth so that he can make greater breakthroughs in his future career. Of course, he didn't forget those who have helped him. James decided to put aside some of the money to support families and children who are experiencing financial difficulties, especially those who are struggling due to their parents' divorce. Especially for those children who are struggling because their parents are divorced, to help them find their confidence and complete their education. In further communication with Isabella, she also gave James a lot of advice on how to manage and use the wealth. Isabella's wisdom and generosity has made James deeply admire, and he realized that he still has a lot of things to learn and improve. Over time, James gradually adapted to this new lifestyle. He began to pay more attention to his inner needs and spiritual pursuits rather than just material fulfillment. He understands that true happiness does not lie in how much wealth one has, but in how one uses that wealth to create more value and meaning. For this windfall, he did not indulge in luxurious enjoyment or spend it without restraint, as many people do. On the contrary, he sat in his study and looked out of the window at the woods that he had once enjoyed with Linda, and an inexplicable emotion welled up in his heart. The woods witnessed the good times he and Linda had and held the memories they shared. Now, although Linda is gone, James still wants to protect the land in some way. So an idea came to him. He wanted to use his wealth to support a land conservation program. This was also after listening to Isabella, who gave James a lot of advice on how to manage and use this wealth. James began contacting local environmental organizations to learn about their needs and programs. He was surprised to find that many environmental programs were difficult to implement due to lack of funds. This strengthened his determination to join the charity work. He not only wants to contribute to the protection of the natural environment, but also hopes to arouse more people's concern and support for environmental protection through his actions. After talking to several environmental organizations, James chose a project that focuses on land conservation and ecological restoration. This project aims to protect the local natural environment by planting native plants, restoring the ecological balance, and raising public awareness of environmental protection. James decided to invest a considerable amount of money to support this project and was personally involved in the planning and implementation of the project. As the project progressed, James began to feel the satisfaction and fulfillment that philanthropy brings. His heart was filled with joy as he watched the once damaged land gradually regain its vitality. At the same time, He also realized that charity is not just a monetary donation, but also a responsibility and commitment to society. He hopes that through his efforts, he can influence more people to join the environmental protection cause. In working with environmental organizations, James has also made many like-minded friends. They discuss environmental issues together and share each other's experiences and insights. This exchange gave James an unprecedented sense of belonging and mission. He began to realize that he is not only a supermarket manager, but also a person who can contribute to the society. Of course, James' charitable behavior has garnered some attention and accolades. He was featured in the local media and became a role model in the community. This recognition has strengthened James' belief and determination. He understands that every time he gives, he brings a little bit of change and hope to the world. Over time, James' philanthropic endeavors expanded to other areas. He began to pay attention to education, healthcare, and other social issues, and actively participated in various public welfare activities. His actions infected people around him and influenced more people to join in the charity work. In the process, James has not only realized his own value, but also found a new purpose and direction in life. He understands that no matter where he is, no matter how much wealth he has, true happiness lies in using his power to influence and change the world. And he will continue to walk firmly on this path, interpreting the power of charity and love with his own actions. As the dust settles from his divorce, James feels a sense of relief that he has never felt before. The house had been successfully sold, and the last link between him and Linda was about to be severed. But this is not just an end. It's a new beginning as James begins to prepare for his move to New York City, the city of his dreams, full of new opportunities and challenges. Before he leaves, James decides to return once again to the home he and Linda used to call home for one last goodbye. He walks through the empty rooms, every corner filled with memories. However, instead of dwelling on the past, he firmly tells himself that this is a major turning point in his life and that he has to be brave for the future. While saying goodbye to the past, James is actively preparing for the future. He began researching the New York real estate market to find a suitable residence. He imagined his life in New York with its colorful cultural activities, exciting career opportunities, and countless new friends waiting to be made. In addition, James started to plan his career development in New York. He learned that the supermarket industry in New York is also very well developed, and he believes he can find a satisfying job there. At the same time, he is also considering using his experience and money to try to start his own business. He is full of expectation and confidence in the future. As he prepares for the move, James also stays in close contact with Isabella, who expresses her full support for his decision and promises to provide him with some help and resources in New York. Their relationship deepens and James feels a warmth and caring that he has never felt before. However, moving is not a simple process. In addition to material preparations, James also had to face psychological challenges. He was well aware that he would be leaving his familiar surroundings and circle of friends and stepping into a whole new world. But it was this unknown and challenge that made him feel overwhelmed with excitement and anticipation. The night before his move, James is alone in his home packing the last of his belongings. He looked around and felt the bits and pieces of what this former home had brought him. Then he took a deep breath, closed the door, and set off on his journey to New York. On the airplane to New York, James looked out the window at the clouds, his heart filled with longing and anticipation for the future. He knew that this new city would bring him countless opportunities and challenges, and he would meet them all with his own efforts and wisdom. Upon arriving in New York, James was blown away by the city's bustle and energy. He couldn't wait to start his new life. He rented an apartment in Manhattan and started his new life in New York. Everything here is new and exciting to him, and he looks forward to making his mark on the city. Over time, James adapted to the pace of life in New York. He found a job in the supermarket industry and began to plan his career. At the same time, he made many new friends and partners, including some of Isabella's acquaintances in the business world. In his new life, James has not only realized his professional dream, but also gained countless happiness and warmth in human interactions. He is grateful for all the opportunities and challenges this new city has brought him, and for those who have accompanied him on this journey. He knows that there is still a long way ahead, but he is fully prepared to meet more opportunities and challenges. With his divorce finalized and preparations for his move to New York well underway, James felt a sense of relief and freedom that he had never experienced before. During this time, his relationship with Isabella deepened, from business partners to friends who confided in and supported each other. In a chance encounter, James mentioned his desire for the ocean and his plan to go to the Cayman Islands for a vacation. Isabella heard about it and decided to go with James without hesitation. Isabella has always been a calm, independent businesswoman who always maintains a prudent and rational attitude towards people and things. However, ever since she met James, the walls of her heart seemed to start disintegrating gradually. Initially, Isabella's impression of James is simply that of a middle-aged man who has just gone through a devastating divorce. But her opinion of James begins to change when she learns of his accidental discovery of ancient coins at a social event and learns that he doesn't intend to squander the windfall, but plans to make a charitable donation. Isabella is impressed by James' charitable heart. In her opinion, in the face of sudden huge wealth, many people may choose to indulge themselves and pursue materialistic enjoyment. But James is different. He chooses to give back to the society. This noble quality makes Isabella impressed by him. As time goes by, Isabella's interactions with James become more frequent. She found that he is not only broad-minded and kind-hearted, but also a person with his own principles and persistence. This persistence is not only reflected in his dedication to charity, but also in his attitude towards life, friends, and work. During her vacation in the Cayman Islands, Isabella had the opportunity to spend more time with James. She found him to be a delicate, considerate man, always able to bring warmth and care to people without even realizing it. Whether it's taking care of her when she's diving or making recommendations when she's savoring a meal, Isabella feels James' unique charm. More importantly, James' strength and optimism in the face of divorce and life's blows showed Isabella his inner strength. This strength not only supports James through the low points of his life, but also infects those around him, including Isabella. Over a long period of time, Isabella realizes that her feelings for James go beyond that of an ordinary friend. She begins to long to know him more, to be with him, and even to be a part of his life. This emotional shift surprises Isabella, but it also makes her more certain of her feelings. Under the stars in the Cayman Islands, when James expressed his gratitude to her, Isabella knew that she had fallen in love with this man. His kindness, strength, optimism, and attitude toward life captivated her. She, in turn, is willing to use her strength to support him and accompany him as we face the challenges and opportunities ahead. So when James confessed his love for her before he left the Cayman Islands, Isabella didn't hesitate to reciprocate his feelings. She knew that this man was worth loving and cherishing. And this journey not only elevated their relationship, but also allowed them to find the other half of each other's lives. James was in an extraordinarily relaxed mood after returning from his vacation in the Cayman Islands. With the sunshine on his face and the breeze of the sea, the wonderful time he spent with Isabella was still fresh in his mind. That trip not only deepened their relationship, but also made James look forward to the future. One day, he was wandering around the streets of New York, and the city's prosperity and vigor made him feel overwhelmed. Just as he was immersing himself in this coziness, a familiar figure suddenly came into view. It was Linda. She looked a bit haggard and her eyes revealed a hint of fatigue and confusion. James's heart was flooded with a wave of complex emotions, but more than anything, it was relief. They had ended that marriage and now each had a new life. He hoped that she could find her own happiness as well. Linda saw James as well, and a flash of surprise flashed in her eyes, which then turned into a deep apology. She walked over and said softly, "James, long time no see." "Yeah, it's been a while." James responded with a smile, his tone devoid of resentment, only calm and relieved. "You don't look so good. Did something happen?" Linda sighed. "Clayton and I broke up. Turns out he wasn't the man I thought he was. He just wanted to have fun with me and didn't really love me. It was my own wishful thinking that cost me you." Upon hearing this, a wave of emotion welled up in James' heart. He thought of his marriage with Linda. Perhaps they had already had a rift long ago, just that neither of them had realized it. But now that he had let go of that past, he hoped that Linda would be able to walk out as well. Linda, The past is the past. I hope you find your happiness, James said sincerely. Linda looked into his eyes, as if she saw the determination and relief within him. She sighed deeply. Thank you, James. I know I hurt you, but I really regret it now. I hope you can forgive me. James looked at her sincere eyes. The resentment in his heart had long since dissipated. He reached out and gently held her hand. Linda, I forgive you. We should all move on and find our own happiness. This chance encounter makes James more convinced of his choice. Instead of dwelling on the hurt of the past, he will face the future with courage. He knows that a new life is waiting for him ahead, and he will meet it with a new attitude. The chance encounter and forgiveness with Linda made him appreciate what he has now even more. He is grateful to Isabella for her companionship and support, allowing him to rediscover the meaning and direction of his life. He is also grateful to Linda for her remorse and apology, allowing him to completely let go of the baggage of the past. At this moment, James is ready to start his new chapter. He will continue to work hard to move forward and pursue his dreams and happiness. He believes that he will encounter more challenges and opportunities in the coming days, but he is ready to bravely meet them all. Forgiveness is not only a release for others, but also a relief for oneself. James knows this very well, so he chooses to forgive and move forward. He will use his actions to prove that no matter when and where, as long as you face it bravely and move forward positively, you will surely find your own happiness and fulfillment.